So what we're doing here is we're going to be transferring all these parts over to the contender frame from the red line, the yellow bike right behind me. Alright, you're going to see me basically tear apart this whole bike. Now I got the speed basically turned all the way up to about 6, so it should rip right through this. It was actually pretty comical to actually listen to the audio at 6. Basically, the buildup of the yellow bike, I got a bunch of really good parts on it. Other than the handlebars and the fork. It was only basically pulled apart after about 1 day of riding, so everything's coming off pretty easy. I didn't jive with the geometry of the red line, the yellow bike. So I had to basically use the contender frame because of the fact that I did not feel the response that I wanted from the yellow bike. Now, later on, I might rebuild this bike, but I'm going to have to go with a different technique. It's not set up for 2.4 tire, so it's probably going to need to be 2.25s. Right there, I was just basically hammering out the crank. Now I'm basically taking the bearings out and doing everything I need to do. Now we're quickly into taking off the rear brake. Which in reality, this actually took like 5 minutes because of the fact that I couldn't get the little nuts to actually go hand loose. Now I'm taking off a brake cable, thinking to myself if I'll be able to actually make the extension, because technically this frame is a 20.5 and that dual line kink cable is going to be going on a 21-inch top tube. So it was pretty tight when I actually mounted it. Now I'm pulling out the front brake cable so I can actually undo the head. That is a cool fact of that RL 3.2 for a front brake, rear brake combo bike. That is actually one of the lightest bikes that you can buy in full brake. It's just it's required that you run small tire on it, aka 2.25, old school big tire. It's cleaning bearings pretty much. Even though they're brand new, you still have to wipe them off every single time you take them in and out. Kink contender. Damn, that bike's shiny. Now note the rubber mallet finishing the job. You not put your bearings in all the way with a metal hammer. You have to basically use a rubber mallet. You know, at the last bit, so you don't start chipping your paint. And yes, I did not put a spacer in there. Don't really need to. Now, these forks are the forks off of the E-Lite bicycle. And as I said in one of my vlogs, they never, clean the paint off of the fork steer tube. So you literally have to sand that off. The major problem with that is basically like it was binding a lot on every single stem I would put on it. Turns out there was a lot of paint on there. I'm trying to figure out if the goofy top is actually clearing the frame and not touching it. I don't realize that it's actually above it almost like a 32nd of an inch, which is perfect until the last minute. And then I'm like, all right, we got it basically good. So I start doing the gyro tabs and everything. The same thing goes with the stem. That's also an Elite stem. It had paint on every single one of the surfaces that are contact points. So I had to go in there and actually clean those up too. I'll basically be doing that like once actually I get done weighing them all. So basically I took the E-Lite stem off of those bars and I'm going to be putting it right back on. But as you can see, I am currently complaining about the paint that is on the inside of it and trying to sand it out as good as I can. Slipped right on. Now, not to basically jump the gun, but I'm putting the handlebars on, and this is the second time I've built a bike and forgot to put stupid ass top of the gyro on. So you'll see me actually pull the handlebars back off. The piece I'm talking about is literally right behind my foot. Yep, there I go. I'm like, ah, fuck. I was putting the seat on. This isn't the seat that I'm actually going to be running, but there we go. It's now upside down. I can't remember if I put the crank on now. I'm pretty sure I do. Yep. No, actually, I'm putting the brakes on. I'm sorry about the goofy ass camera angle at this present time, but when I was doing the bike teardown, it was actually a good angle for the most part. Now basically I'm just aping over the bike and you can't see anything what's going on. It's just basically installation of U-brakes. I'm pretty much working the tension in them right now, adjusting them out. Simple stuff. Now we're putting the crank on. I start slowing down right here because it's 28 tooth and it gets really close to the frame. I had more spacers, but I just was like in awe of how close it actually was. It's like literally perfect. Yeah, I had to spread it out a little bit, but that tire goes right on. The reason why I had to put my foot in there was because of the fact that the guard got in the way, as they all do. So even though that top tube is longer than the top tube on the yellow red line, the chainstay on the kink is actually 2.5 links shorter. So I'm actually taking out a lot of chain. So these modern bikes, actually, the rear chainstays are actually amazingly smaller. And the first thing that I tested when I got on the bike was to see how close my foot was to the rear peg, and it cleared barely. I mean, I could feel it tap just a little bit, but it's close enough for comfort, but you know, it's not too close that it's going to get in the way of bailing and stuff. Now, pardon my audio with my voice right now, but it is like literally 3 a.m. I wanted to basically get this all situated before I went to bed. So, nothing really to be said about this. I'm just basically putting a chain on. Now I'm putting that really short kink dual line on and literally crossing my fingers the whole way, hoping that I got enough length. I actually do, but it's really tight. As I already told the bike shop, I want 2 more sets of these cables on their next order. And I hope to gosh they remembered. Restocks at bike stores right now are so few and far between, they can't remember if they put it in. So I might be getting another set of them. If not, I'm just going to order them. It took me a little bit longer to actually deal with this cable because it was so much shorter. Oh, now we're putting the gold accent cinema pedals on. I was going to put the kink ones back on there to stay with the kink theme, but I don't have the red pedal part of the pedals in house. All I have is those gray ones. They're the 14 millimeter pedal shaft pedals through kink. They're pretty beefy. I was going with the cinema because of the fact that it's the theme of the bike in the end. Oh, you're going to ask about the silly wheels. The silly wheels are E-Lite bicycles, stock wheels. They are sealed, though. They're actually pretty strong. The rims are single wall. That is the weakest part of it, but for cheap, fast rims to throw on a bike, they're the easiest ones to actually acquire. And as I always say, like for $400, you get a lot of good parts off of those E-Lite bikes, but the frame quality is not there. And there you go. Exxon's got a new bike. Oh, I gotta take the old brake lever off for running the front brakes on the yellow bike, but other than that, yeah, it's all done. A little bit of tightening here and there. Testing weight. Feels like about 25 and a half pounds. Not bad for a gyro bike. That's me testing the heel area of the peg. And there you go. Shiny, shiny bike. Yeah.